All right. Hey, welcome back for part two. We were talking about conflict in Ohio during this time period, the 1790s. So here, just showing you this again, this is our map, our historic map of Ohio. And I want to remind you, we were talking about this cartoon, this political cartoon, showing the idea that during this time period, there is incredible violence between the native tribes and the American settlers moving into the Ohio Territory. And this was not a one-way street. There are terrible examples of settlers just doing terrible things to the Native Americans, and then revenge coming back with the Native Americans doing terrible things to the settlers, which causes revenge, which causes revenge. And in the middle of it, England is egging all of this on. England still has a presence in this area, even though technically they shouldn't. From the Treaty of Paris back when the end of the Revolutionary War, but they're still there. We're going to talk about that later. And their actions during this time period leads us down the road to war with them again in the War of 1812. That started in the year 1812. So England right here being depicted by this fat, chubby officer in a red coat who is then being handed a scalp and then rewarding that native warrior with guns. And that was not a native idea with scalping. That was a European idea from England and France. It started during the French and Indian War, but England kept it going, right? So we are not happy about this at all. And that's going on in this territory. All right, George Washington is our president during this time period, and he sees the threat, he sees the problem, and he's not happy about it. He's not happy that American settlers are being slaughtered and that the progress of our expanding country is being halted. It's being slowed down. So I want you to kind of notice the difference here. So again, no photography, but we have paintings here. So we have a painting of Washington, sketches of Little Turtle. That's kind of how it goes down. Many cases is that these native leaders were not going to sit for a portrait. That was not an option. So what he does is he seeks people that he fought with during the Revolution. And in this case, we have this portrait of Arthur St. Clair. That's his name right there, Arthur St. Clair. Arthur St. Clair, he is a leader and a general that he knows from the Revolutionary War. He also seeks the help of this person here, Josiah Harmer, right? So he, at two different points, calls upon these two men to lead troops into the Ohio Territory to quote unquote take care of the Indian problem. Basically, he charges Josiah Harmer here, Arthur St. Clair back here, he charges them with get into the Ohio Territory. I'm paraphrasing here, and put a stop to this violence. Stop Little Turtle, stop Blue Jackets. So Josiah Harmer at this point, he sends him first. And here's what's neat about this. He sends Josiah Harmer to the city of Cincinnati, right? So here is a picture, here is a drawing of what the city of Cincinnati looked like in 1802. Now that's in the future from what we're talking about right now, but in 1790 it would not have looked too different from this. Harmer and his troops, they gather at Fort Washington. This is a drawing of what Fort Washington would have looked like. This fortress was a fortress, right? It would have been supplied with troops and equipment, and its sole purpose was to protect the new city of Cincinnati and protect that part of the Ohio River. Because if there was a fortress and then the city was going to be attacked, the citizens of that city could run to the fortress for protection. Also, you are less likely to attack a city or a town that has a fortress than one that didn't. So this was kind of like a way of deterring or preventing any attacks from the native people, the Shawnee or the Miami, who are still in the area. So Harmer meets at Fort Washington. He takes his troops. He goes north, and he is beaten by Blue Jacket and Little Turtle. This was Blue Jacket and Little Turtle's first kind of major combined win, I guess you could say, against the Americans, and not just settlers and frontiersmen, but this is actually a win against trained, somewhat trained soldiers. And many of the soldiers ran away. About 200 were killed or missing. And this was a first sign of a combined Native American effort between two nations, Miami and Shawnee, could improve their strength and make it easier for them to win against the Americans. Because before, this would have been Shawnee and Miami fighting their own battles, but coming together, this first win showed that they could be better than separate their own. So in this case here, I want to come back to this picture real quick so you can see him again. So that was Josiah Harmer. He had that first encounter there, and he had that loss. So Washington's not too happy about it. He sends in Arthur St. Clair. This is the next guy up the chain of command, I guess you could say. So he is in charge of the Northwest Territory at this point, and he sends them out with a stronger force, about 1,400 soldiers or so. But here's the thing: Washington understands what's going on in this area, and he warns St. Clair, and he says, look, whatever you do, now I'm paraphrasing, he didn't say this exactly like this, but he basically warns him against a surprise attack. He says, look, whatever you do, do not let your guard down. Do not have a surprise attack sprung upon you. This is how they fight. Okay, remember, if you remember back, we were talking about this, George Washington fought in the French and Indian War. He fought with native warriors. He knows how they fight because he was a veteran of that war. So St. Clair meets at Fort Washington in Cincinnati, and he travels north towards the border of Ohio and Indiana. And what happens is exactly what Washington warned him against. St. Clair lets his guard down, and he allows, I don't know if allow is the right word for it, or if he wasn't ready for it, or he underestimated the force of Little Turtle and Blue Jacket. But the result is St. Clair and his army, they are completely slaughtered in this battle. This battle has many different names. Depending where you read or who you talk to, I guess, about it, who has studied it. So St. Clair camps along the borders of the Wabash River. The Wabash River kind of starts in Ohio and kind of flows out into Indiana. So again, using water as transportation and camping along those areas. So yeah, he is attacked by Little Turtle, the combined forces of Little Turtle's men and Blue Jackets men, the Shawnee and the Miami, and his soldiers are taken by surprise and slaughtered. This battle goes by the name of St. Clair's defeat, which sounds okay. It also goes by the name of the Battle of 1,000 Slain, because by the end of it, close to 1,000 of his 1,400 men are killed or missing, which is just another way of saying killed. To lose 1,000 men in one battle was mind-boggling. I also read about this a couple years ago when I was researching this for class again. But I saw one resource referred to this, the native people referred to this as the Battle of the Pumpkin Fields or the Battle of the Squash Fields. And my immediate thought was, oh, well, maybe it took place in a pumpkin field. And that's not what it was called. That's not why. Because at the end of the battle, there were so many severed heads that it looked like pumpkins in a pumpkin field. That's what the end result of this was. I mean, this was not good for the Americans. What's interesting about this battle is there is a young Shawnee warrior named Tecumseh in this battle. We're going to talk about him and his brother, Tezcatlipoca, later. But this is important to know that a young Shawnee warrior is at this battle. So where Blue Jacket and Little Turtle had that win against Josiah Harmer, and that was kind of like a good first win. St. Clair's defeat, the Battle of 1,000 Slain, the Battle of the Pumpkin Fields, whatever you want to call it, this win is massive. this is a big deal to know that Tecumseh, now you'll hear a lot of people say Tecumseh. The correct way from what I've learned to pronounce his name is Tecumseh. So you may hear me say that, go back and forth, but that is the correct way to say that. And we'll talk about why that happened and why a lot of people know it as Tecumseh versus Tecumseh. So he is there, and this win makes an impression on him, because in the future, when he becomes the leader of the Shawnee Nation in a way, he's going to remember what it looks like when the tribes and when the nations come together to fight their common enemy, which were the American settlers. So that's important to keep in mind. So St. Clair is defeated, and Little Turtle and Blue Jacket here, they are pumped. I don't know how else to say this. Now, why do you think that winning this victory excites Little Turtle and Blue Jacket? What do you think they would have been thinking that they, in one day, in one battle, they're able to not just go up against settlers with their own guns and groups of men one at a time, but the American military, the American army as it stood then? Why do you think they would have been, I'm going to use the word excited, after that victory? I'm going to pause here so you can jot down some of your thinking about that. They see this victory as a ray of hope. They see this victory as, if you've ever heard the phrase before, the light at the end of the tunnel. They see this as their chance to finally win back their homeland for themselves. Now, I want to tell you what's interesting. I didn't know about this until I was reading a book about this later on. But when people in Cincinnati, remember Fort Washington and Cincinnati, when people in Cincinnati heard about St. Clair's defeat, when they heard that Little Turtle and Blue Jacket won this massive victory, people started leaving the city. The city of Cincinnati almost stopped existing after this, because people realized, wait a minute, they just killed off the force of people who were protecting us. Who's going to protect us? So these two guys with their people, they had some major momentum right now. So much so that the people started fleeing the city and fleeing the territory. So, like I said, I did not know this until I was reading about this recently, but that almost happened. The city of Cincinnati almost ceased existing after this battle, because people were worried that these guys were just going to march down south and just wipe every settlement off the map. Washington, remember, warned St. Clair not to let a surprise attack happen. St. Clair was completely defeated. Now, he survives the battle, but he is completely defeated by a surprise attack. Now, I'm going to pause here. I want you to write down, if you were George Washington and you send this guy into the Ohio Territory to say, take care of this problem for me, don't let them sneak up on you, and then you are snuck up upon and you lose big time, if you were George Washington, how would you feel? What would you say to St. Clair? I'm going to pause here and let you write down your ideas. If you were George Washington, what would you say to St. Clair when he comes back, or when you find out that he's lost big time because the thing you warned him against is exactly what happened? Take some time to write down your thoughts on that. Yeah, Washington probably either said a lot of things that I could not say in a video for school, or was at least thinking them. However, I don't know. Either way, he was not happy at all. St. Clair and Josiah Harmer have failed him. Both of them have failed them. So basically what happens is he fires both of them. St. Clair is removed. Harmer is removed. They're done. Washington realizes that maybe these were the wrong guys for the job that needed to be done. So he brings in this guy right here, whose name was Anthony Wayne, but he gets the nickname of Mad Anthony Wayne. Not mad like, oh, I'm angry. Mad like This guy's crazy. And he gets that nickname for his fighting during the Revolution. He was an American soldier fighting against England. But during the Revolution, I don't know the full background of him, but he pulled off these maneuvers, these stunts. He did enough things during that war that he got the nickname of Mad. This guy was not going to back down. He was not going to let a sneak attack happen. He was going to pursue and not stop. Mad Anthony Wayne takes over this job of removing these tribes from the Ohio Territory and putting that pressure on them, and he was not going to back down at all. Okay? Mad Anthony Wayne, he goes into he replaces these two guys. Let me move forward here. He is now in charge. There he is, okay? Going back into the Ohio Territory, Mad Anthony Wayne starts putting on the pressure. He starts marching through Ohio, and this brings us to this battle right here, okay, which gets its name from something that happened earlier on. So he has this battle. This battle is called the Battle of Fallen Timbers. Okay, this has happened in northern Ohio. Let me show you the map again. Right, so Cincinnati, right here. Okay, Cincinnati's still around. Fort Washington is still around. Right around here is where St. Clair was defeated. Northern Ohio, right up around the Lake Erie, Michigan area, is where this Battle of Fallen Timbers happened. Before this battle, the reports was that a small tornado, that is such a small thing as a small tornado, but a tornado came through that area. Very violent storm came through and uprooted a large portion of the forest, hence the name Battle of Fallen Timbers. So what happens is, you can see from this battle map, the American soldiers over on this side and the Indians right through here. And as the battle starts out, it seems at first that it is going to be another win for the Native Americans. But what's happening here is some conditions are set to where Blue Jacket and his men are not at their full strength. Little Turtle, even beforehand, had warned against meeting with Anthony Wayne in battle because his reputation got ahead of himself. And Little Turtle realized that he was not the same type of guy as St. Clair, so he was hesitant to fight as well. But the native people, they're not the native warriors. They're not as at full strength as they wanted to, right? So these warriors are also including some Miami, of course, Shawnee, Ottawa, Delaware, and Wyandot. So the alliance is growing stronger here. It's not just Miami and Shawnee, but it's bringing in the Ottawa and the Delaware and the Wyandot, the people that we're talking about. And they usually, would go through a religious ceremony and fast before a battle, which means they wouldn't eat anything, kind of a way of preparing themselves. But that they just weren't at their full strength. They weren't quite ready. And Anthony Wayne was also a different leader for that. So what happens is, this was in 1794. So it's been about 4 years since this conflict really broke out. The Native Americans, they're being beaten back. Now I want to come back to this map here real quick, so this full overview. What I want you to notice at the top of this northern part, it says Fort Miami. This is a fortress that belongs to England. England is still in control of this fort. So what happens? The Native Americans are being beaten back. You can see here this map is showing the retreat of the native people, and they are retreating to the fortress where they think they are going to be protected. If you remember back that cartoon I was showing you, they have an alliance of England. England says, we'll take care of you. We're going to supply you with weapons. All you need to do is keep killing Americans for us, and we'll take care of you. So the battle goes not the way the Native Americans would want. Anthony Wayne has better tactics. He's more aggressive, and the native people, they start retreating to that fort. They get to that fortress seeking help. They are hoping that if they get to the fort and asks to be let in, they will be let in and they will be protected. England does not open the doors. So think about this. You are a Native American warrior. You know there is a connection between your tribes and England. You go to this fort for help. You are being pursued by people who want to kill you. You're going to this fortress where you think that you are going to be safe. These are the people who have been egging you on the whole time, trying to help you. As soon as you get to that fortress, the doors are shut. They will not let you in. And you are then cornered by the people pursuing you. How are you going to feel about that? Write down your thoughts about in your notes. What do you think? How do you think these people felt when they went to that fort seeking help and that fort was just shut in their face? So they felt betrayal. That's putting it lightly. And I want to mention something. Tecumseh is there when it happens. So he is there when Little Turtle and Blue Jacket win big time against St. Clair, and he is there at Battle of Fallen Timbers when he sees the betrayal of England to the native tribes. Now, what do you think that does for him in the future when he considers England, or when he thinks about England, or thinks about anybody that is non-native? Just write down your ideas about that real quick. So Tecumseh sees this betrayal. He survives the Battle of Fallen Timbers, and he will never forget that betrayal at Fort Miami. This defeat at Battle of Fallen Timbers is so complete that the native people of Ohio realize that they have been beaten. Anthony Wayne has beaten them so badly at Fallen Timbers, they realize their chance is gone. They can't come back from this. This is a painting of something that happened in Greenville, Ohio, and this shows what happened. Here we have Anthony Wayne shown in this painting, who is receiving a belt. Oh, sorry. He is receiving a belt of wampum from Little Turtle, shown in this part of it here. Now, remember, Little Turtle kind of warned against them going face to face with Anthony Wayne, and is, unfortunately for them, he was correct. He knew better. And then here, this depiction is showing Blue Jacket, right? And what's happening is they are signing away their lands. They're signing over their lands in Ohio to the American government. And what we have, this is a scan of the Treaty of Greenville. This is the actual document that was signed. And what we can see here is we can see the native leaders' names. Here, you can see their name spelled out, and then this is their symbol that they would have drawn to signify that they were signing that treaty. And you can see on the side, like the Chippewa right here. So that was a nation, right? You can see the Ottawa. These were leaders from the Ottawa Nation, right? You can see Ottawa over here as well, okay? The Shawnees, you can see their names over there. So these are leaders that are signing their lands away to the Americans because they have been beaten at the Battle of Fallen Timbers. And that's the Treaty of Greenville. Here's that painting again. Blue Jacket, Little Turtle, Anthony Wayne. Okay, they sign over their land. The Americans have won. Here's the document again. And you can see this part right here. It's broken off, but this is where they would have dipped hot wax with a symbol, and that would have been a seal or a way of stamping it to make it official back with the older documents. So what does this do? The Treaty of Greenville redraws the map. This is what it looked like before. This is where the nations were. This dark, thick line right here, says every native group of Ohio, this is your section of Ohio, you have lost all of this. So all of this becomes part of, this is open to the American settlers 100%. This is given away. This is signed away. This thick black line draws the separation between native land here and settlements down here. If you look at it side by side, the people who lose the most are the Mingo and the Shawnee. The Shawnee are not okay with this. Very few people are okay with this. Most of all, Tecumseh, that Shawnee warrior who was at the Battle of Fallen Timbers and saw the betrayal of England, who was there when St. Clair was defeated. And what I'm going to get into next week is talking about what Tecumseh and his little brother Tezcatlipoca do to try to gain back their land. Their story between the two of them, Tecumseh and Tezcatlipoca, is amazing. And I want you to think about, if you are an older sibling or if you are a younger sibling, right? I want you to think about what that feels like, because we can connect with these guys. I'm an older brother, and I'm an older and a younger brother, and I can connect with what it feels like to be the oldest because I have a little brother. But I'm a middle kid, so I can also connect with what it feels like to be the younger. And if you can connect with that, you can connect with these two guys in a very big way. He was the younger brother. He was the older brother. Okay. Guys, thank you very much. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope you all have a great day.